the wife. She directed him in the right direction. He was headed in one direction, but she steered him in the right one. On the other hand, who was the folly that destroyed the family? Korah's wife. She was the one who pushed him into rebellion against Moses. The sages say that his wife persuaded him. She said to him, "What is this? Why is he appointing his brother? You're a cousin and more important." She gave him a long speech about why he was more important than Aaron and why he should be the leader. When she persuaded him, he went out to fight against Moses. That's why the sages say that a woman has incredible power and can influence her husband's opinions, the education of their children, and the direction their lives take. Does it depend on the husband? Yes, but the woman has a lot of power in the area of peace at home. Sometimes a man feels humiliated due to the criticism from his wife. She criticizes him and points things out. When asked why all the criticism, there's a beautiful answer today: constructive criticism. It's important to know how to give constructive criticism, but compliments are even more important. Compliments build more than criticism. This applies to both child rearing and when you need to point something out. There are rules for how to point things out, how to talk. Start with praise. Generally, when someone is criticized, they feel they are being viewed negatively. This is true for both women and men, but men find it harder to accept criticism than women. Women by nature are more flexible. The sages say that a woman is given extra understanding. Why does a girl at the age of 12 and a half already have to observe commandments? If she makes a vow, her vow is binding. A boy only at the age of 13 is obligated. A 12-year-old boy's vow does not hold because he doesn't fully understand what he's doing. The sages say that this is because a woman's understanding matures faster, both in logic and wisdom. Because she matures quicker, God says, "I trust you at the age of 12 and a half, while for a boy, he says only at the age of 13. So on the one hand, extra understanding is given to a woman, to the point that the sages say, when a person has doubts or questions, they consult their wife. The Gemara says that Rabbi Eliezer was told that the position of president of Israel had become vacant, and they wanted him to be the president. He said to them, "I will go and ask the king and my wife." Today, if you told a member of Knesset, "We want you to be president," he would say, "I'm going to consult with my wife." He went to ask his wife. Why? Because she has extra understanding. She notices details that I might miss. He asks her, "What do you think?" They offered me this position, and she says, "There are 2 points you should check before accepting." He checks and sees everything is in order, so he accepts the role. But she sees things that I don't notice. Extra understanding. On the other hand, the sages say that women's minds are lighter. This means that their conclusions are flexible in today's Hebrew. There is wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. Wisdom is information. You have a lot of knowledge, you become a wise person, but that doesn't mean you're discerning. A wise person has learned a lot, has experience, and has gathered details. Discerning is something else. You can use the information you have in your mind, observe things, and build a new idea. Just like building physically is construction, understanding is mental construction. The Hebrew letter Yud symbolizes spiritual progress, and it represents mental understanding. A woman has more understanding than a man. She notices details that he might overlook. A man might be excited about a business deal that seems very successful, and he tells his wife. She brings up points he hadn't thought of, and suddenly he sees the whole thing collapse. He hadn't noticed those details. The sages also say that a woman is good at recognizing guests. When a guest arrives at the house, the man might be very impressed with him, but the woman, with her keen eye, can notice nuances. Therefore, someone who wants to start a business with a partner, a person, a partnership, It is not recommended from the beginning. Business is better without a partnership. Handle it alone. Usually partnerships end in disagreements, divisions, fights, and anger. If there's no choice but to form a partnership, even then, you should write everything down in the contract up front. Then, even though you trust your friend, you should still write everything down. Make a contract, every detail, as if you're about to have a dispute. Don't feel uncomfortable saying this. Because I want to avoid disagreements, I'm writing everything down. If you decide to enter into a partnership, tell your partner, before we sign the deal, come over to my house for lunch. Before he arrives, tell your wife, today the person I want to partner with is coming. When he arrives and sits down, turn on the X-ray. You have an X-ray vision in your mind. Check him out and tell me what you think about him. Is he honest, loyal? If yes, go ahead and do business with him. If not, don't. The woman has extra understanding even in relationships. A man wants to get married, and a woman wants to get married. They bring him in to meet the parents. This means asking the mother, please host and give me feedback later about your impression of the person. They have extra understanding, they have perception. A woman is good at recognizing guests. Korach's wife caused him great disputes. Why? Because she had flawed character traits. Her ego and pride ruined his life. A woman who knows how to uplift her husband, but with compliments in private, not to stir conflict with others. Who knows how to praise him, and even when she needs to correct him, knows how to do it in a way that maintains his dignity. The sages say that out of 10 aspects of speech that came into the world, 9 were taken by women. Today, studies show that the speech center in the brain is more developed in women. What a man can say in one sentence, she can turn into 10 sentences without a single unnecessary word. You are amazed by this talent. And why did she receive this talent? Because when raising children, you need to speak a lot in order to build the child. You need to know how to soften your words. A man speaks briefly. For example, the father might say, do this, do that. But the mother knows how to soften it, to preface her words, to end with words of encouragement, to give him motivation to change, to inspire him to do what needs to be done. So, women were given the talent of speech. A woman should remember that the speech talent she was given should not only be used for children, but also toward her husband